everybody to our next Marketing on Tap podcast and vlog. Sam Fiorella, this is my buddy Danny Brown. And today, Danny, yeah, this is one of those rant, kind of things it just irked me when I read this. I was sitting in the commuter train, I was flipping through some news articles and I saw this and I just went off and texting Danny feverishly, we gotta talk about this one today. In fact, there's a couple of articles and I'm gonna read you the headlines because I think this will get us to where we need to be. Insider Magazine title of the article, a luxury Maldives resort says it is contacted at least 6 times a day by Instagram influencers, and there aren't enough air quotes in the world for me to use when I'm talking about influencers. At least 6 times a day by Instagram influencers asking for extravagant freebies. Because, I have an Instagram post and an account, and so that means I need $10,000 worth of free vacations from you. The second one from Takeout Online, which is a restaurant trade publication. Steakhouse caves to insufferable social influencers with dedicated Instagram tables.
Yeah.
People wonder why I drink.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we got to talk about that one. And then the third article that all happened.
Did you look up Pinterest potty then?
Yeah, me. That's good. That's funny. CNN Money came out with a story about one of my favorite topics, the fat Jewish or Joel Ostrovsky. I can't pronounce the last name.
Ostrom?
No.
Ostrom, is it?
I say this so many times.
Fat Jewish.
Yeah, Ostrovsky, that's it. Joel Ostrovsky, also known as the Fat Jewish on Instagram. He came out with a statement. It says, one of the biggest social media influencers in the game, Joel, has a word of advice for those hoping to strike it rich as a social media influencer. Get a real job. And for that, Joel, I applaud you. It's about time. Somebody who's actually milked the game in the tune of, $1 million. Thank you for finally stepping out and calling a spade a spade. So we want to talk about that. And get into this whole thing, is influencer marketing finally dead, or at a minimum, fake social celebrity influencer finally dead? Yeah. But as always, you poured something interesting here. This one I recognize. I want to talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead. This is like the Hawaiian-style pale ale from Spearhead Brewing.
That's right. Now this one here has got a little bit more of a hoppier profile than I typically like. However, I encountered these guys at the Toronto Beer Fest. I bought their t-shirt, I bought a hat. I think I even bought a little shot glass from them because I just enjoyed it so much. Have you tried this one before?
I haven't, no. I've had something that was Spearhead, which I can't remember offhand. Maybe being a stout or something like that, but I haven't tried this. And I like the look of the can and the sound of it, so I thought, let's see what it's like.
So beer marketing works, gentlemen. For those of you out there looking at craft beer, if your can is pretty, Danny buys it. Anyway, cheers, mate. Let's try it. IBU is high on this. What is it?
So the IBU is 60, and the ABV is a 6% of alcohol. Yeah, 6%. So it's a little bit of a stronger beer. This is closer for me. I'm surprised. I'm not sure what your take is, but to me this is more like an IPA.
IPA. Well, they call it a pale ale. I wonder. The thing is, they're calling this like a Hawaiian style, which is really an American style IPA, which is a little bit more bitter. And surprisingly, I enjoyed this more when I tried it at.
How many beers have you had?
Well, that's what I just thought. I probably had quite a bit because not that there's anything wrong with this, but it's definitely a little bit more on the bitter side, like an American pale ale is. But it is good, and it's not as fruity as the one that we tried last time.
That's right.
It doesn't have that fruit, which.
Yeah, it's all about the bitterness and hops coming through versus the citrusy.
Right.
This is
beer. Man's beer.
But anyway, so yeah, Spearhead Brewery. They are at spearheadbeer.com and they're located in Toronto. They're out here in Toronto, actually, which I never knew. So that's cool.
No, I like this. Again, for that IPA style, this is one that, it's not my favorite, I have to admit, from all of them. I know you like this a lot for your style, but I think again, in the summer, this is a better beer than some of the others that we've been trying that are a little bit more on the fruity side. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the beer. We are here to talk about marketing. And so let's start.
Is social influence marketing though?
Is social influence marketing?
That's it. Yeah.
That's actually a really good question. You know what?
Joel doesn't seem to think so, I guess.
Well, no, he's just saying get a real job. Not that it isn't marketing. I think it is marketing because marketing is all about getting your name out there, driving leads, building your brand, market awareness, right? You know, getting those marketing qualified leads, filling the funnel. And I think influence marketing definitely can do that.
Yeah.
You know, I think those of us that have been listening to us all these years, you know, anybody that will ever listen and talk about this, that this has been a bullshit enterprise from day one.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, a guy like Joel has made a lot of money doing this, right? Now, Joel has made money by creating an Instagram account and being very irreverent in what he posts. He's, you know, in fact, for quite a while, he was stealing other people's jokes.
You wrote about this as well, right?
I did, yeah. About 2 years ago, I wrote about him, and I was saying, this is all that's wrong with influence marketing. Right, so this was something that I wrote for Sensei Marketing's post, and 2 years ago, what I called out was he was being paid, and you know, I read an article about how much he was getting paid, and in some cases, he was getting $70,000, $75,000, $150,000 to post a picture with the product. And I think at the time it was a wine, ironically enough, because that's the business that he's now started. But it was some wine, you know, paid for him to do a billboard and then post a picture with the billboard or something. And I thought, he's so irreverent. It's actually lewd, a lot of his humor, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that kind of humor. But does it really match the wine was the number one. And I think a lot of the people that were hiring him to post weren't thinking, who is his audience? And his audience, is his audience our audience? Right. And does it lead to sales? And so I was calling out, so this guy's brilliant as a writer. My thought back then was, why don't you hire him if you like him? Hire him as a writer.
Yeah, exactly.
Hire him as a content creator inside. Then that you could take the content and put it in the audience that is your audience, or in the channel that is your audience. To me, that just made more sense.
Right.
And here we are, 2 years later, and he's coming out and saying, guys, look, there's too many of us. So basically what he said in the CNN Money article was, at the end of the day, anybody that has a Facebook account is now an influencer or claims to be an influencer. And if you go to the Maldives article in Insider Magazine, Lisa Target, the UK manager, said that online marketplace where brands can match briefs with influencers, that's what she does. She still thinks that there's a market. However, what the company at the marketers at the Maldives resorts are saying, that they get people with 200 to 300 influencers, or followers, excuse me, that have reached out and said, give me a 1 week, $10,000 vacation for free and I will post you.
Yeah.
She goes, there's less than 10% of the requests that she gets that she even considers, let alone taking action on. So to Joel's point, everybody's doing this now, so there's no value because everybody's doing it, so no one is special anymore. Even though he has some 10 or 11 million followers, which is amazing, it's huge. In terms of total number of followers, he's even saying that it's not worth it. Now, interestingly, he's not walking away from that account, but he started his own business.
Right, yeah.
And so maybe this is where we pivot in terms of the conversation. What he said, and where he's changing his business, is that he doesn't believe creating fake anything is important anymore, right? It's basically, he was calling it all fake. He needs something real. He goes, I want to build something real. I want to give people something real. So he and his friends started a wine company using his humor. It's called Swish.
Yeah, I saw some of the bottles and the labels and such.
Yeah, he's got some really irreverent, like, you know, dining with family is hard.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, red wine or something like that. So it's like, you know, so again, he's using his humor.
And it suits his brand and his audience, I guess.
Right. So for me, that's a great way. Now, if I was a wine company, I would have hired him to write for me, as opposed to just posting, you know, my, you know, pink girl, you know, wine or something. It was some lady's rosé wine, or they were promoting to women some rosé wine, and so it just didn't sit. But for me, that sits.
Yeah.
So the point, anyway, and this is where I want to ask you, he's calling social media influence and what he offered as a product fake. He was offering up something fake that has no value anymore, in part because we all know it's all fake, and in part because just everybody's doing it now. He wants something real. Is this where influence marketing is going? Are influencers, Instagram influencers in particular, are they dead?
It's tough because I mean you mentioned it, and I was being facetious about social influence actually being marketing, but because we know it works, we work with influencers, day in day out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it goes. Joe makes a good point, and it goes back to what we talked about 5 years ago when we brought the book out. It's all about is your influence relevant to the audience, and have you got a brand affiliation to the product and the client you're working with, as opposed to they're giving you $75,000 to put something on Instagram. And I think where the pushback is coming, and I know we spoke about it in a previous podcast, where the actual pushback is coming is on the folks that say they're an influencer but don't drive anything. It's people that are just, taking pictures in Hawaii and then sending it over to a vacation company saying, hey, I took this in Hawaii, I can do the same for yours in the Maldives or whatever. So I think that the pushback, and brands are trying to realize it comes back to the business goals you're after and the affiliation you have with the client, the product, or the brand, and moving away from the fake crud. Because brands have been hit. If you look back at I think it was Firefest, which was last summer maybe, huge event, somewhere in the Maldives, somewhere in that exclusive area, and they got the youngest Kardashian to promote it.
Right. I remember that.
Names. And it just burned, it crashed and burned, and people lost a lot of money on that because the influencers weren't affiliated to the brand and the.
Well, I agree with that, and you see, again, just going back to personal experience, you take a look at some of the influencers that we've worked with in some of the campaigns are getting called out. So if we sent them a product to try, and they promote that product because they've tried it and they like it, that's a real problem.
Yeah, becoming a show.
It's a show, right? Yeah. And so people are starting to recognize that. Because, well, clearly you're going to talk positively about that because it was given to you. You were free, or you're getting paid. And even though they weren't being paid in the cases that we talked about, they were always being called out because there's a perception, because there's a cynicism around this whole influence thing, right? And I think maybe a younger generation still follows it. They know it's fake, but it's just entertainment for them. But are they buying or not is the other issue. But I really like what he was saying about becoming real and offering some kind of product, and I'm hoping that this is going to signal a shift. But from a marketer's perspective, so let's turn it. If that is in fact the case, and how do we choose influencers any differently today, knowing that there is more cynicism about influencers, maybe not as worth paying them what they used to get paid for those that got paid? Knowing that there's a lot of backlash, there's these marketing managers in the Maldives who are saying, go screw yourself, because no, you're not worth it for me. What can they do? Let's maybe look at it from two ways. What can they do? Should they all follow Joel's model? So listen, I'm really creative. What kind of pitch can they make?
Yeah, some of them are. You look at some of the guys we work with, some of the influencers we work with on past campaigns and current campaigns. And some of them are very creative. They'll put video editors in Hollywood to share with some of their creativity. True. So they could become almost like a media company and now highlight other people coming through the ranks that are making a difference in their industry.
Right.
You see that. So stuff like that where, you can really start a business for yourself. And I think to Joel's point, it is all about, okay, who's got the nous and the nous? I don't know.
I don't understand every fourth word you say, so don't.
NOUS is nous. Anyway, that's the word. Who's got the sense, the business sense, if you like, to now take what they've built up from a following point of view and turn that into a hard physical, asset. From a marketing point of view, it goes back. We've talked about this time and time again. It's in the trenches, doing the manual work, doing the research, getting better chairs.
I know. Sorry, that's my squeaky chair.
And just really, building the community and building an influencer base up from people that bring value. And they're not in it for product and whatever, they're in it for value to others.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And for, one of the examples that we have in training, we have a community of influencers built up for one of our clients, and it's really just more of a community of fans and users more than it is a community of influencers. But one of the things that we've done in that community is invite proposals. So we've gone out and said, guys, who's got a great idea? Pitch us an idea. So we're relying on their creativity more than we're relying on the number of followers that they have. Because if they come up with really good content, yes, they can share it with their audience, but if it's good enough content, others will pick it up and others will share it.
Yeah.
And that gives us more bang for the buck And of course, it becomes an evergreen campaign potentially that we can use in other channels.
Exactly.
So it just makes a lot more sense. So I'm glad that he's finally calling that out. So I do want to highlight this steakhouse that caves to insufferable social influencers with dedicated Instagram tables. So first of all, can I give a shout out to Kate Bernot, who's the writer, just for calling a spade here. The restaurateur is saying that today people make decisions based on Instagram and Yelp reviews, and in part because of the pictures that are being put out. It's one of the things everybody does. It's kind of funny when I go out to dinner, even with my daughter and her friends. The first thing they do is, even my wife, takes pictures. And for a while I was doing it too. If you take a look at my Instagram feed, right? It used to be all about the meal that I made. Now it's just about my scotch and cigars. Yeah. So I guess it's really not all that different. So yes, send the hate mail, call me out for what I'm calling everybody else out for. But she said, hey, I like Instagram myself, but I'm obviously way out of touch with the kids these days because the main criterion I use to choose a restaurant to friends is whether the food is good, is what she said, as opposed to... But anyway, what this company did is they spent $10,000
to fit out a table,
to construct a table that has mood lighting so that the person can get the appropriate shot. And they've actually spent more money creating backdrops so that when they take pictures of themselves in the restaurant or the food, there's an interesting backdrop to make it. So is that going too far, or is that really the future of restaurant marketing?
No, you know what, and it's funny, everybody talks about exponential marketing and making an experience for the customer when they come in the store.
Which I agree with, by the way.
And that's fine. This to me is not exponential marketing. It seems like insufferable Instagram tables to use our phrase. It's because what does it achieve? Are these people, do their followers, would they actually eat at this kind of place?
Yeah.
Or are they just going there to get free food, take some pictures, and maybe even get some dime into it at the same time? And what do the other diners think that are coming to that place for an ambience that is now interrupted by a bunch of Instagram folks getting the right, selfie, the right shot?
Yeah, how annoying is that? Also, if you're at the table next to them and they're spending all of this time, getting the right shot, and then they have to eat cold food.
Yeah,
so how can they recommend the food because they end up eating it cold? I don't know. Anyway, the bell is happening. There is, believe it or not, we still don't have a bell.
Maybe by episode 9 or 10.
10? I don't know. No one's gotten the hint apparently. So either we have absolutely no listeners or viewers,
that's feasible.
or they just don't care. Anyway, we're going to have to splurge and I think and get a bell. So, last call. What's that one thing that, given this topic, given that Instagrammers themselves are successful Instagrammers, successful celebrity influencers on there are calling out the industry and saying it has to change. What is that last message or actionable comment we want to give marketers who are listening?
I think it just goes back to keeping it real. When you do any kind of marketing, any kind of business, you're not in it to be fake, or hopefully you're not in it to be fake, right?
Yeah.
And when you're working with people on behalf of clients, you've got to make sure you're presenting the best people to these clients as well. So for marketers, you continue to have to do the legwork. Know that the industry is, probably coming to an end in one facet of the fake, photo. And people are looking for more, whether that's results or, more tangible, quality, if you like, from the actual influencers that they're dealing with.
Yeah, for me, that's a good point, and I agree with you, and I think just maybe to expand on that a little bit, I think that we have to stop it. I think one of the reasons that influencers have become insufferable, and this has become what it is because we as marketers have enabled it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've looked for the shortcuts, we've looked for people who have, 500,000 followers who have built it up, and we know that 99%, that's a bit of an exaggeration.
80%.
We know that there's a large number that are fake, right? Because in the early days, we were getting actually not in the early days, today I'm still getting pitches to buy followers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? The cyber shills and the shill farms are out there. So we were paying for that, and so we created this monster. Yes, they wanted it. I remember I teach an influence marketing course, as you know, and I actually had somebody who came to the one class and was disappointed after day one because I was teaching real influence marketing, and they said, I signed up to learn how to be an influencer, not to learn how to market through influence marketing. So people are looking to do that because they don't want to work anymore. They figure this is just an easy way for me to make some money. So I think that we as marketers, that's the change. Build those communities, as we've said many times, work them, put the opportunity in front of them to step up and give you an idea, have them come up with the campaigns, use their talent, don't use their followers necessarily, because 9 out of 10 times it's not going to lead to sales and they're fake anyway. So that's my 2 cents on it. Anyway, we're at our time today. Thanks for the opportunity to rant a little bit. I appreciate that. Yes, and thank you to Joel for calling out this industry. For those of you that are kind of enjoying what we're doing, we're certainly having a lot of fun doing it. We do it anyway. We've just put a mic in front of us. Don't forget to hit subscribe to the vlog or to the podcast if that's where you're listening to. We do this every week. 15 to 18 minutes or so of some banter about whatever topic happens to piss me off that week as it's turning out in the marketing field. So thanks, Danny. Thanks, Anna, for helping us out. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers,
Until
guys.
next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.